We're back with Mattia here for another episode of Italian Politics Explained. Today we'll talk about two key topics, quite separate, quite different. But one is around the rise of the sort of far right movement called National Future or Future National, which is Futuro Nazionale for those based in Italy, led by Roberto Vannacci, who's a former general. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll switch gears and talk about nuclear energy. There's been a bit of an evolving topic, and the Parliament has approved one first little step, I think last week or week before last. So without further ado, let's keep on going. Actually, before I pass it on to Mattia, just a reminder, comment, like, subscribe. Let us know if you have any questions, any topics you'd like us to talk about. And I'll pass it on to Mattia to kick us off about Futuro Nazionale.
Yeah, thank you, Edoardo, and hello, everyone. So today we will do a brief comment about this new political party, because I think at least that is quite interesting. So this Roberto Vannacci, wrote a book now 2 years ago, or maybe more, I can be mistaken, which is was a sort of quite political book, I would say. The title was The World Upside Down, we can call it. Something like that. And soon after that, he joined a party, La Lega, the Liga, ruled by Matteo Salvini. And again, after that, he left the party to found this party that is now Future National, Futuro Nazionale. And now this party in all is I don't know which percentage they give to this party at the moment, 5% or something like that.
Yeah, around 5.
Is rising. Let's say is rising quite fast. So what is interesting, in my opinion, about this party? I will cite Vannacci in the first interview he gave straight after he left the Liga. When they asked him, why did you betray Matteo Salvini? Why did you betray La Lega, the Liga party? And his answer was, I didn't betray anyone. Matteo Salvini betrayed the Italians because he didn't cancel, abolish, as you like, the Fornero reform of pension. He didn't stop immigration, etc. A long list of things that Matteo Salvini was promising years ago, and now Vannacci is promising. And this is what is quite crazy for me. Vannacci he sounds like Salvini 10 years ago. This is what is catching me. Maybe with a different style, maybe with a little difference in what he said. He's a bit more extreme on, I don't know, against homosexual, he's a bit more extreme if you want. By even Matteo Salvini, there was the moment where gender was one of the main topic, So the difference are tiny, I would say. He really sounds like Salvini 10 years ago. And the fact that people are moving from Salvini to him when he's saying exactly the same things 10 years after, or 8 years after now, I don't know exactly how many years after, but more or less, let's say 10 years, is quite shocking. Which means that to gain the vote of a part of the Italians is enough to repeat over and over and over again the same things. You just need to look new, because if you haven't done them once, then people at some point they're not going to trust, you didn't cancel the Fornero Salvini, so you don't promise the game because you didn't do it once. So you just need to look new, but you can promise over and over and over again the same things. And people are going to come to you. this is what is shocking for me, and this is what is sort of this is why I want to talk about this, because this is what is shocking. Like, people are voting a guy that is repeating in quite similar way the things that Matteo Salvini was saying 10 years ago. He can sound a bit more extreme, as I say, on some things, fine, but there is no on top. The topics are the same.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say like two things, starting to tie it from what you just said, which I think is the main issue here, which it's not just an Italian issue, I think it's globally, which is uh, being a member of government or sitting in a party that is governing is harder. And so even though Vannacci with National Future said, "Oh, I'm leaving this Liga and creating my own thing because they're betraying," the reality is he can't stay within the government because it pays off more to be in the opposition, right? Or being independent from it. Because being outside and screaming and yelling against, if you're in the government, people can say, well, you're part of the government, what are you doing about it? Whereas if you're outside, it's a bit easier. So that's I think the main reason why he left. I totally agree on all the topics and stuff. Like, it is the same thing. And to be honest, even if you look at the other side, like whether it's super far left, super far right, when you're opposition, it's easier to to sort of get more votes or sort of try to lead and say things that you're not going to be able to do. So the whole things he's saying right now are things that probably you wouldn't be able to manage while he was in power anyway. But that's what I wanted to talk about, the themes and the the program and stuff like that. So the first one, which is quite interesting, is the party he founded is 6 months old. It's rising really fast. A party that's apparently 5% in the polls. They've got 80 to 90,000 members in 6 months, which is insane. And they don't even have a program. And this is the thing that like blows my mind. Is they've got 5%, 80,000 people. You go on their website, the program is in progress. There is no actual program. There's a manifesto, and they say it's in progress. We're in our constituents phase. We're building up. We're ramping up. We'll release it in the future. Elections are next year, by the way, which also helps out because it allows them to say all sorts of things without having a clear plan. The themes that you can feel by listening to the members of parliament, there's I think 8 of them right now, are essentially 3. One is regaining ties with Russia. This is sort of saying stopping support for Ukraine, getting gas passed from Russia. They claim because it's cheaper, but the reality is that the party actually has ties with Russia. The general, like the Roberto Vannacci, is a former general, has actually served and been in Moscow for many years, which raises some questions about his past and his history and his sort of proximity to Russia. So that's the first theme. The second one is around homeland security and safety, and our cities are not safe and so on, which ties to immigration. They talk about this concept of remigration, which is essentially a very undefined across all far right European Western countries. But essentially, I don't know if it means mass deportation. No one really clarified what it means, whether it's expulsion, whether it's deportation, because they can't say it. Like, it's just a bit unclear. And so these two themes are themes that he's bringing up. Security, safety, homeland security being a main one. But because he was member of Liga and member of the party, and the party's been in power for 4 years, they haven't done much about it. So you can't say too much about, immigration, there's too many people, or security, if you have been in government for 4 years and your party is supporting that, which I think is the reason why he moved out. So those are, that sort of, for me, the two main things. On one side, a bit of a lack of a program, some general themes there. However, a party that in the numbers is really booming, like 5% polls. It was founded, I think, in February officially. It's got 80,000 members. That's what they claim. I don't know the official data when it's going to come out, but they said 90,000 like a few days ago. But the other thing is, I do want to say, is obviously around the ties with Russia and a bit of a split of the various far rights, I think, in the Western countries, which is some of them are pro Russia, some of them pro Ukraine. And it's a bit of a split there. Like the Liga used to be and still is a bit more pro Russia, and he's going towards that way. Whereas the main party in government right now, which is expressing the prime minister in Italy, Brothers of Italy or Fratelli Italia, is actually supporting a bit more Ukraine, and it's a bit of a split within the far right movements. I think the Futuro Nazionale is actually aligned more to Trump and sort of that part of it. But that's sort of how I see this, and it's ultimately benefiting. And this is maybe a bit of a conspiracy, but I think ultimately this whole thing is done to benefit the center-right coalition. To say, hey, we're gonna get out. We're not gonna be in government. We'll support only certain things. We'll try to get as many votes as we can, so that when the next election comes, you guys who would have lost some votes because people lose trust in you as a government, will try to gain those back. We go into coalition and win again, potentially win again. And so that's where I see this all ending. And he actually has said this in the recent weeks. He's been saying, I'm not here to destroy Central, I'm here to help. Just steer it a bit more towards the right-hand side and try to make it stronger. So, yeah, I think that's sort of what's going to happen, and that's where they're headed towards. But to your point, I'm very surprised that people believe in this, because maybe they're just angry, and it's just reflecting a bit of anger within the Italian electorate.
I mean, I agree with everything you said, and the fact that being in the opposition is easier, 100%. That is pretty clear. The only thing I want to sort of, let's say, highlight here is even these ties with Russia, this connection with Russia, are not new.
Yeah.
As you say, Matteo Salvini had the same. La Liga had the same. They have an agreement with the United Russia, the party of Vladimir Putin. So even this is not new.
Yeah.
Even this international alignment that it might sound sort of related to the situation in Ukraine. Maybe you can say, the Liga didn't have any position because at that time it wasn't one of the main international topic, the situation in Ukraine. But no, even this alignment with Russia is not new. So it's incredible how there is literally nothing new in this new party, in this new culture, in the Italian politics. And one little words about the program is just, it's not a surprise that there is no program for me. Clearly, it's not necessary.
Yeah. That's the sad bit. I think it adds an extra layer, the fact that he's a general of the Italian army, and he has served part of his work and his time was while he was in Russia. So it's a bit more scary and alarming in terms of ties. The other thing is, I think a member of the directive or the council of this new party is actually an Italian-Russian citizen. Nothing against dual citizen, but this is something quite unusual, and with ties with Russia, who sits in an important, an important seat within that party. So I think that's what was a bit alarming, and we'll see how things evolve. I think the next few months, in terms of getting close to elections, and how this rise continues, whether it stalls, whether it's plateaus a little bit or keeps going, might determine a lot about the future election. Because at the moment, the rise of Vannacci has not deteriorated much the other parties within the center right. If his rise was going to start impacting heavily, and I expect this to potentially happen, to impact heavily the main party, which is the Prime Minister's party, then I think things will get a bit trickier. In the sense of they will start viewing him as a threat rather than as an enhancement and an improvement to the coalition, and that's will all the problems start, because they'll start arguing and so on. So we'll see how that goes. We'll really need to
I'm not sure about this because I agree with you. The only thing I would like to say here is that I hope and I probably believe that Vannacci is simply taking votes from Matteo Salvini because the Liga is a dead party. That is a sort of, they committed what we can call a political suicide, keeping Matteo Salvini there as secretary of the party. He is clearly incapable of doing anything. He's always been. He has his 15 moments of glory, but then in the, I don't remember which European election where he got 30-something% of the votes. He's dead politically, of course, and he has been dead for a while now. And then you have Forza Italia, the former party of Berlusconi, which is again
another dead party.
Yeah, in that case also the leader is dead, but for some reason he's still the prime minister, or in their mind, they have Berlusconi for president in the symbol of the party, which is something extremely weird. But again, when you have two parties so weak as member of the leading coalition in Italy, it's not so complicated to get votes from them.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the first one is definitely La Liga. I wonder whether the next one would be actually the Fratelli d'Italia, the Brothers of Italy party, because they've got like still 26-27%, which is insane.
Yeah.
After 4 years of being in part, like it's like probably never happened, maintaining that high share of voters. So we'll see what happens. I think it's an interesting one. But if you're keen, I think we can switch off completely on something more interesting. In some ways, the nuclear power. Yeah, I was looking at the news, quite happy. My first thought was, as always, too little, too late when it comes to nuclear. It's like they've been 4 years in party, and this is meant to be the coalition who's pro-nuclear, like super in favor. And in 4 years, the only thing they were able to do is the first law that, first law where 40% of members of parliament were absent, so they didn't vote. So that sort of shows how important the nuclear is for these people, and nuclear energy and power plant is, or just having a plan for energy in the future is like not really important. Oh, hello. Hey, Giovanni. We just started talking about the nuclear power. So the second topic. So you just came right on time. I was just explaining how a bit too little, too late, and to prove that how this government, this coalition, who's meant to be the pro-nuclear one, that really cares about nuclear energy, has no clue. Literally, there was only 60% of members of parliament present at the voting for this nuclear legislation, which is quite surprising. In 4 years, you haven't done anything, and the only thing you've done is one first pass in the lower chamber. We still need to do the Senate, and this pass essentially just provides some guidance and provides some powers to the government in terms of legislation, in terms of governance for nuclear. It allows council to sort of raise their hand and say, hey, build a nuclear power plant in my council or my province. Create some plans for training engineer researchers. But everything is sort of 50% at the start. We need still the Senate approval. And then from there, you also need what's called the decreti attuativi, which is essentially the executive orders, how you would say in English, of how you execute. Yeah. But anyway, I'll pass it on to Giovanni, because you just got in. Put you on the spot.
Well, I don't know the details of the how the law is being discussed, But generally speaking, like my opinion is pretty straightforward, I would say. I think we are already too late with implementing nuclear power as a source of energy. I'm not a fanboy of nuclear power. I think of it just as a one kind of energy source that should be integrated as well as other resources like renewable energy, fossil fuels are still a thing. I don't think we can like avoid using fossil fuels already. But it's kind of crazy to me that we haven't started a discussion about nuclear energy since this year, basically. And this is a consequence, of course, of all the dramas with Russia, Iran, etc. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that the discussion is happening. But yeah, if for as I know Italy, it's gonna take a long time. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's positive that something is moving, but I'm waiting for to see something to happen, like for real. What do you think, guys?
I have one more thing, but Mattia, you go.
Yeah, I will take from here. I think that where to start? Too little, too low. As Edoardo said, I agree. I think we have to remember that the history of nuclear energy in Italy is a sort of evidence, I would say, of the fact that the politicians in Italy are sort of cowards. I'm saying that because the use of referendum in when was 1987 and then the other one in 2011, if I'm correct, they were sort of a symptom of this. Instead of taking a political decisions, you use a referendum, and if you go and you read the topics of the referendum, the questions, they were sort of extremely stupid as well, but was a way to sort of don't take a decision on that, a decision for the good of the country and so on. I believe that now, because the opinion about nuclear energy in Italy is shifting, so the people in favor of nuclear energy are more than they used to be. The politicians are sort of trying to follow that, but again in a very, I don't know, sort of they are using precaution in doing so. That's why everything is so slow. The problem that nuclear energy is something that needs a strong leadership because it takes time, it takes money, it takes investment. So you should start in a quite straightforward way because it's going to take time, and when you delay these things, it's going to take ages. And we know how Italy is sort of quite slow in doing anything. Okay. And another thing I want to add is that besides nuclear energy, but in general, Italy hasn't built any big infrastructure in ages. We have really enough. What was the last thing that was sort of infrastructure investment done in Italy in the last 20 years or so? So this is the situation. And the alternative is to still depend on gas. This is what I think important to underline. A situation in which we are 100% renewables, the so-called renewables is sort of extremely unlikely. And so it's important to underline for the public debate that the alternative here is between having a base load of fossil fuel and a base load of nuclear energy. These are the two alternatives that we are discussing about. and everyone must be free to believe what they want about which is the best option. But the option of being 100% on the table, 100% renewable energy is not on the table. And we should also at some point start discussing what it means to go 100% renewable also in terms of minerals. The amount of materials that will be required to depends 100% from solar and wind and batteries for storage, because we need also store energy, would be massive. Just to give you information, if all Europe, North America, and China would like to go 100% renewable, we don't have enough copper to do it. Okay, the production of copper necessary would be, I don't know, you can do the calculation, it's not so complicated. We don't produce enough copper to do this in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, and I'm sitting one material.
Yeah.
So this is where nuclear energy comes in. Okay. Again, it's something that should be decided quite fast. A strong government would act and simply keep going. In this case, is too little, too late. So this is a bit the situation we are facing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the two other things I want to add were around one, how you could speed things up, and then the second one was more around the importance of investing in such technology beyond the power plant, beyond building the electricity. So, and the two things ties to each other. The reason why it takes so long is not just because you got to build it, you got to get the approvals and all of that. You also need to form, educate, and create the workforce that knows how to do these things. Unless you're going to import it from, I don't know, South Korea or somewhere. But there's not enough engineers, there's not enough researchers that know this stuff, because people have moved to other things. People have started saying, okay, nuclear is not a thing in Italy like back in the days, and they went to retrain on something else. You need to train these people and give them confidence that you're going to invest long term, especially now that we're talking third, fourth, fifth generation, whatever. If you want the fourth, fifth generation, you got to make sure you train people starting from current generation so that the jump is easier. So I think it's super important to get that across the board, that message across the population, because I totally agree. Like, obviously, it should be in the mix. It shouldn't be all nuclear. It should be part of the mix. It should help with the base load, diversify. Obviously, as part of a strategy to try and move away as fast as possible and as much as possible from fossil fuels. That's I think the main thing there. And so it's around training. In terms of how to speed up, and this is a general problem on so many things in the European Union. You experienced it in like personal life and other things, but like one example where you could speed up like crazy, but Italy would not do it because everyone wants to have their own legislation, is, okay, nuclear power plant legislation already exists in a lot of countries. The safety guards, security, all the bloody governance / manuals, all of that exists in France, exists in Spain, exists. You just say a law that says, I will take either the most restrictive or the least restrictive in Europe and apply that. And you don't even need to write it. You just follow that. And then, and sort of from there you move forward. I think the problem is, that thing shouldn't be Italy saying, let's do like Spain. It should be the European Union saying, hey, this is the legislation and it applies to all European Union if you want to do nuclear. And that would be ideal. It's super hard, but I think it's part of how we should shift our thinking towards having a proper, a European Union and not just a union of countries with all different regulations. That would speed up things massively, because you're passing over the know-how, decades of legislation from one country to another. And then you can tweak it. And then you find, there's this article in the French law that I don't like. Cool, tweak it. Make your own tweak for your own country. So those are just the two things I wanted to add there.
Yeah, I think the problem is the political will to do it, not really the lack of capabilities to do it. I think, as Mattia said before, a very common situation for Italian politics is just to follow things. So we never have a government that is proactive toward anything. Like they just follow the flow, what the population is feeling, or what Europe is suggesting or indicating as the way to go. Like if I think about some of the most interesting politics of the recent years, they're almost all not imposed, but like indicated by the European Union. It's very uncommon for Italy to be a trendsetter, let's say. So, and even in this case, the feeling is that nobody has the will to take the risk, because it's a political risk. It's a lot of money to invest. It means that if you think about PD, Partito Democratico, they are proposing another bonus, $200 euros bonus. Italian politics likes to make this kind of proposals. You can't hear a party saying we're not going to give you any bonus, but we're going to spend the same amount of money to start building like a nuclear implant. You're not going to get anything for this year. You're not going to get anything for the next one. But in 5, 10, let's say, years, we're going to have a nuclear system. And this is not something that would be beneficial starting from 2036. It's going to be beneficial starting from 2030, because the awareness, like knowing that this implant is being built, it gives like a positive provision for the future. So it's like building a positive trend, I think, as well. I think you can get a lot of investments, and you can start like planning, like how do you say, la spesa pubblica, like
Expenditure, yeah.
you can plan the public budget thinking that in 5 years you will have like a cheaper cost of energy. So I think it's really really a political thing. Like we are not blessed by very courageous politician in this phase of our history.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Would you wanted to add any closing thoughts, Mattia?
Yeah, if I can add something here, but I think that the topic of nuclear energy in Italy is quite complicated. The reason why nuclear energy would be important is also in terms of an independence, energetic independence. We have seen now how external factor like the war in Iran at the moment, Ukraine war before, all this fact they can simply hit Italy and Italian economy badly, because we depend from a continuous supplies of fossil fuels from Middle East or from Russia or wherever. So the nuclear energy in that sense would be quite a relief. Like we can think that the biggest reserve of uranium in the world, they are in Australia, and then there is Canada. And plus you don't need a continuous supplies, because the energy density of uranium is way higher than anything else.
You can bring some uranium back in the luggage.
the amount you need is tiny. But I want also to add about another thing about we should probably start discussing how really to rethink energy in general, because when you talk about renewable, we are 100% dependent on China at the moment.
Yeah.
In terms of production of solar panel, wind turbines, batteries. they control at least 70% of the worldwide market, probably more. And when we talk about the materials that we need, especially rare earth materials, China controls almost 90% of the market, if I'm not wrong. So even there is a big problem. And even if you want to invest badly in renewables, we should, I mean, those people that they believe in 100% renewable, they should go protest every day to ask the opening of mining everywhere in Europe. We should mine everywhere in Europe to get the material to make solar panels, to make wind turbines, to make batteries, and to improve the electrification of the houses, of the building, and so on and so forth. They simply believe that the solar panels, they fell from the sky or they grow on the tree. Unfortunately, the propaganda that was done in these years is still having bad effects on the public opinion. I want to close with a funny examples in Italy, that the nuclear magnetic resonance in Italy is called only magnetic resonance. I don't know if you ever noticed that. And there is a reason, because otherwise people wouldn't do it. But name of the medical technique that is used by everyone in the world is nuclear magnetic resonance.
Yeah.
So it's called. In Italy, it's called
That's
magnetic resonance. People say, I'm going to do risonanza magnetica, not nuclear magnetic resonance. And the reason is that you cannot even say they were nuclear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no patient would do it. Okay? So this is how.
That's funny.
This is a funny part of history that I want to close with, just to give you an idea, which was the situation of the propaganda. We can call it
bias, yeah, for sure. It's definitely there. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, things will improve. I don't think so, but let's see. Yeah, if you obviously liked our conversation today, please put a like, subscribe, comment, ask for further topics. We'll pause it here for tonight, and yeah, I'll see you next time.